Welcome to Reality of the Rose with your host, Natalie Sprink.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 227 of Reality of the Rose. I'm your host, Natalie Sprink. If you are watching this, again, forgive the no makeup and bags under the eyes. It's just what comes with being 55 years old when you don't put makeup on and it's a weekend and who cares, right? So thank you for joining me today. I am going to do a little segment. If you've been listening to me for a while, you know I like to experiment with new little things, new little segments. I had a whole podcast about it on my last episode about how I'm thinking about doing something different. So we're going to test this theory. We'll see if it works. We'll see how I'm feeling it. We'll see how you're feeling it. But this particular episode is going to be just a little short. I'm planning on 15-minute episode about something in my reality, something that I've seen it on other reality shows. It's a topic talked about. It's what I'm going to kind of go for is because of what I'm watching to relate to the podcast. It's something that relates to me in my own real life, or it's an aspect of something that is in my own life. So that's where I'm coming from. So I've been watching Let's Marry Harry. I'm going to do my next podcast this week is going to be about my recap of that. First of all, just as a side note, highly recommend. You'll learn why on the next podcast. But they talk about therapy. Mental health therapy is what I'm talking about. And you hear this a lot. It's a lot more freely talked about in this day and age. And I think that's a good thing. They talk a lot about it on podcasts that I listen to, reality TV, and just in general. It's a much more accepted thing than it used to be. And I think that's great. I myself have started therapy. And this is something that I feel at my age, I'm still hesitant for some reason to talk about because I feel like there's a stigma on that. And I feel like people automatically assume that something's wrong with you. And I feel like that's because, again, how I grew up and the age that I am and growing up, you sort of were, if you had mental health issues, there was something wrong with you, so to speak. If you took meds for mental health issues, there was something wrong with you. Oh my gosh, I heard that they were on medication, that they were taking something for their anxiety. People didn't talk about that type of thing. And if it was talked about, it was behind closed doors and it was like within your family and it was like a secret thing. And it was like a bit looked down on. As I said, there was something wrong with you. Especially you didn't talk about going to therapy. That was more equated like you're going to a psychologist and and they are two different things, but I think they're equated now more together. Either way, it's talking to a professional about something that's bothering you and for them to help you and to give you tools in life to cope. And I think that it can be a benefit to anyone and everyone. So my specific path with it started actually a couple years ago. And where I live, it's small town. In my opinion, I haven't really delved into it that much, but at the time, I didn't necessarily, I wanted to keep it a secret. I almost didn't really want my husband to know. I didn't even want Tim to know because of what he might think or, the questions he would have because he grew up in this area and I don't think he's real pro therapy. I don't know that he would ever necessarily agree to go to therapy just as like a maintenance thing, you know? So I like didn't even really want to tell him. So I didn't want to go to somebody in person because that would mean I'd have to be like, "Oh, hey, I have to go to therapy today at 4 p.m. So be back later." You know, it was kind of something that I initially scheduled on the sly. And at times, maybe I knew he wouldn't be home. And so I did it virtually. And at the time, it was free. So I was like, why not? I was a little nervous. I had no idea what to expect. You know, I'd heard about people talking about how, you know, sometimes it takes trying different therapists. And so that journey kind of not scared me a little bit, but made me like, this could be a long journey. You know, how do you know if it's someone that is going to vibe with you? So I tried it, and I tried it via, um, with our insurance, there was an app that offered free therapy and it was virtual. So I signed up and I found a therapist, and I requested one that had was like Christian based because that's what I was looking for. Don't have to do that. That's what I was looking for. And so I found a woman, and I really liked her, or at least I thought I did initially. I thought I really liked her because she would reference, like your spirituality and your faith helping you with things that may be bothering you. And I will just be open about, well, I'm not going to be completely open because obviously I go to therapy and these are private matters that, you know, um, that I have, and that's why you find a therapist, is to discuss it with them. But I will just say it's about a lot of long-term and long-standing insecurities that I have, um, relationship insecurities, I will say, insecurities just within myself and about my, you know, whether it be physical insecurities, whether it be, like my capabilities, mostly I would say about insecurities and struggling with that. I think that's the basis as a whole. Anyway, so I spoke to her and she helped me with it, and I really liked her. Um, I had probably 5 to 6 sessions with her, and though towards the end, I got to feeling like, you know, I don't like. I felt like I was talking more than, and she was a good listener, but I almost felt like I was feeding her, um, the output she was giving me, if that makes sense. So, like, she was a very good listener, and it felt good. She validated me in a few specific scenarios that I had told her about, you know, things that really bothered me and that I struggled with and that I couldn't get my mind off of. And, you know, she validated me in those things. But I guess maybe that's a better way to say it, that she more validated me than sort of gave me tools or gave me a different way of looking at things. And so I don't know, I just kind of got like a, not frustrated, but a little, I don't know the word. I need a therapist for finding words. But I got disinterested, I guess. And so I quit for a while, and then I decided to start back up again. And then I went through like 2 or 3 therapists, and I knew right away that they weren't for me because, again, I really had trouble with, I would do all the talking and they would not come back and say, okay, I hear you, but have you thought about this? Or have you thought about this? Or what happened in your life that this could have happened? You know, I felt like they were just sitting there being yes men a little bit to me. And that's not, I recognized that that's not what I needed. I needed someone to help me sort it out, or to tell me, like, that's what you're thinking, but that doesn't mean that that's what it is, you know. And I know I'm going somewhere with this, which is why I kind of know this now. So then I quit for quite a while and I didn't go at all. And then just in the recent past, I have felt like the desire or the need to try that again. So I tried a different avenue, that was, again, I actually started looking into in-person therapy. Sorry, let me back up. In my initial journey with this first therapist, about halfway through those sessions with her, I told Tim about it and I explained to him that I was going to therapy and sort of the reasons why. And he actually, didn't. I mean, why would he? But he didn't react as I thought he would. He was more understanding and more like, I feel like he still was like, I don't get it and I wouldn't do it, but it wasn't like he was like, that's stupid, you shouldn't do that, blah 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 blah. So he knew about it, but I didn't really talk about it with anybody else. And okay, so fast forward to now, and I decided to try a different avenue for my therapy again. I looked into in-person therapy, and but again, I am where I live is small town, and to even find a therapist, there's not really any therapists within close driving distance. To go to therapy, I will have to drive at least 40 minutes to my therapist. Not that that wouldn't be worth it or not, but 40 minutes there, 40 minutes back. You know, I there was a place I found, but I decided that it would be better suited to my schedule, which I think is important in therapy, because you can't be like, oh God, I have to drive to therapy again today. Like around here in the winter, you've got weather. So what if there's a snowstorm on the day I'm supposed to go to therapy? Things like that. So I actually decided consciously not to, because in a way I always think maybe in-person therapy would be better, because you can read um like actions or react physical actions or reactions. But I anyway, but because of vicinity, decided to try a different version of online therapy. And I am doing that now. If you have any interest in what I'm using, go ahead and message me and I can let you know who I'm using. But I've been doing it now for the whole summer. I think I started back in May, and I have found a therapist that I really like a lot, who really helps me. And I see now that she is helping me because she challenges me. And when I tell her things, she a bit plays devil's advocate. She is also very validating. And if she sees progress in me, she like tells me that she's proud of me and that's a great job, and you see you've made it this far, and that kind of thing. But she also will say, why do you think that you feel that way? And you know when she asks me that, it's easy to just like blurt out what you think like a standard canned answer would be. But i am I try to make myself really think about that. I'll give her an answer and she'll go, okay, but I don't agree with that. From what you told me, it seems more like blah, 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 blah. And again, when you go to therapy, you have to really be open to the fact that just because you think something doesn't mean that that's the way it is. Right. And I think that is really something that has opened my eyes about it. And I felt like I was really always open-minded and had my eyes open about that kind of stuff. But I realized that I didn't, because she would play devil's advocate with me and say an alternative that it could be. And several times I've been like, wow, I absolutely never thought of that. And that actually makes a lot of sense. And again, I requested a therapist that is like uses a faith based, and also is Christian herself. And again, that's just what I chose. And it's not, she doesn't like force it with every single thing she says, because I didn't necessarily want that either. I wanted like also some practical viewpoints and standpoints about things, but she has really made me think about, oh, okay, like let me try that, or that's true, I never thought of that. And I really think, in my opinion, if you are seeking therapy or wanting to seek therapy, that is what to look for in a therapist, is someone who's going to make you click. Because obviously the way you're thinking about it, or this is, again, these are my personal decisions, I mean, my personal thoughts, is that just because I'm thinking it that way and I feel like I'm self-aware, but you get in your head and you think about it too much and over and over again. And I think that's where people get stuck. And I think a therapist can help you to get out of that place that's stuck and get you moving forward into a different place. And I have just found it very helpful right now. I'm doing it about once a week on average, but it's really helpful to me. If you aren't doing it and you've thought about it, I would encourage you to do it because it can really be a way to vent when you aren't necessarily comfortable venting to somebody else, and maybe someone else will listen, but maybe they're not going to be able to help you through it or give you tactics to get you through your issues. So um anyway, if you ever have any questions about this, I'm at my 15-minute mark and I could blabber on about this, but I think I've sort of made my point, and that's kind of what I want to do, is get to the point, make people feel like they're possibly not alone in something like this. When I talk about these topics in the future, if I can't continue this little my reality segment, some may be fun and funny, some may be serious. Obviously, this one's more in the serious nature, but if you ever have any questions about the things I'm talking about or want to talk about them further, just message me or go into my comments or message on my Instagram, whatever the case may be. And I absolutely welcome that. So, yep, thanks for joining me for this My Reality session. And I will talk to you next time about Let's Marry Harry, and we'll get into that. So until next time, be calm, be strong, be kind, and be grateful. Bye.